So hey guys, in today's video we will be creating a to-do list application from the start by using React.JS, NodeJS and Firebase for the backend. Now let me open up my terminal real quick, and now I'm going to say npx create react app smart list. Now in the time while it gets created, I'll go to my browser and create a new Firebase project at console.firebase.google.com. So I'll name this smart list. Then I accept the Firebase terms, continue. For now I'll disable Google Analytics and create project. Now I'll be back as soon as this thing creates my project and when we are ready to go. So yes guys, I'm back. The console has created my app as well as in my terminal I have this app ready. So let me say continue, and here is my Firebase console ready to be used as soon as I need. Now for this video I'll be using my WebStorm. Now I'll be opening the project right here, and in some time it gets open. Yes. Now here is the readme.md ready for me. I'm not taking a look at it, but I know what is there in here. Now I'll go to the Firebase console, create a web app, name it the main or something. Now we are going to need this later. Auto setup Firebase hosting for this app. We'll be needing this later, but since our app is not ready, we are not yet picking this up. Now register app. Now apps are like the API keys with which you can access your specific Firebase project. Now here are the tokens. Now as soon as the purpose of this video is over, I'm going to reconfigure all the tokens, so there's no point in you trying to get these API keys. Now I'm going to go to the WebStorm IDE, and here I have my public folder, my src where the actual app code stays. Now for starters, I'll open up my terminal, or else simply I'll click on the npm option and click on start. But if you are not using a WebStorm, then you simply have to go to your terminal and type npm start. Now this takes a little while to actually start up the app. In the meanwhile, we will take a look at our code. We have the index.html, wherein we have this script tag somewhere over there. Oh, it launched my web server. Let's see. So we'll be making a few modifications here, starting with removing the comments. Now the comments are really annoying and I pretty much hate them. They do explain things, but it doesn't really make any sense once you are familiar with React. So I'm going to remove all of this stuff. No script tag needed. Title React app. We'll say smart list. Now manifest.json, we will be needing this, so I'll just comment this out for now. And the Apple Touch icon, I don't really need this since I won't be using the PWA or progressive web app. Now meta description. So we'll change the content in here from website creator using create app to a smart way to manage your tasks. Now I'll go back in here, a little alignment there. Next, meta theme color, I won't be needing this. Viewport, I won't be needing this. Icon, this one is pretty good. I'll be needing this, so I'll practically comment it out for now. Then meta charset, UTF-8, the remaining all are needed. So let's check if my app has launched. Yep, compiled successfully. Now here is our React app. I made a bit modifications such as smart list right. So here are the modifications. Now for the next part, I'll be clearing up the public folder by deleting favorite icon, do refactor, run search, do it. Yep. Now I'll be deleting this logos robots.txt, and I'll keep the manifest.json for the later use. Now I will create my own CSS. I won't be needing this. Delete anyway. Next app.test. Next index.css. Now I'll be deleting the index.css, logo.svg, report web vitals, and finally setup test. So basically we deleted everything, right? Now there are a few errors. Let's fix them real quick. I'm going to the index.js file, report web vitals. I don't really need it. Now here comes the part. React strict mode. I don't want it. It basically is a secure way to render your application, but it limits your features. So I won't be needing that. Now I don't have the CSS in here. App. I really love the double quotations more than the single ones. It's just a weird habit. Now the index.js is free of all errors, and I literally mean everything. Now we'll be going to the app.js. I don't have a logo, I don't have a CSS file, and you know what? Instead of making an app.js, I'll be creating an app.jsx. Now I'll be say import React from obviously React. Next step, I'll be creating a function named app. I mean, in React term of usage, this is a component. Now this one over here, a little bit of alignments, and there you go. Now I'll be exporting this component over here. So now I'll delete the app.js file, and we are good to go. Now when I open my terminal, where's my terminal? Oh, what? Yep. So yes, build successful. I'll move my terminal over here. Yes. Now the next step for us here is our brand new React application. Pat your bags because we just created your React application. I don't know if it's first for you or not. There's many times I created, so I don't really have to worry about that. Now, enough of jokes. We'll be getting on to the main part. So we'll be needing a bunch of packages. Now, obviously you might have guessed that since I'm using the Firebase, I'll be needing the Firebase SDK. So I'll say npm Firebase. Now I kind of, I'm lazy to write CSS, so I'll install Bootstrap as well as React Bootstrap. Next, what else do we need? And obviously React Router as well as React Router DOM. So if you don't know what are these packages are for, let me explain you real quick. Firebase helps us connect with our backend Firebase. Bootstrap, pretty much the CSS of Bootstrap. React Bootstrap gives us components to use which have the styles from the Bootstrap. React Router. So basically you have something like, let's say google.com/search maybe. Now this search gives me this page. So when I say search colon question mark q is equal to internet, it gives me the search. Now the slash search slash something, or else in Firebase case slash user project and overall. This is what we call routes. Now we need to manage routes efficiently, so I'll be using the React router, which this provides the core for the React router DOM. So React Native is used for mobile applications. So React Router DOM is the web model. React Router Native is also there, which we won't be using because this is not an Android app. This is a web app, so we will be obviously using DOM. So let me install these packages and I'll be back in a few minutes. So I'm back after installing all the dependencies which I mentioned earlier. So first up, we'll be going to the React Bootstrap official documentation, and we've done the installation part. So I'm going right here, copying these script globals, and I'll go to index.html and paste the script globals right here. Next, I'll be copying the CSS files and I'll paste it just above our title tag. So there is an error. So we don't have any CSS files, right? So yep. So I've just implemented the Bootstrap. Now I won't be needing any custom CSS for some time, I guess. So I won't be using anything right now. So I'll leave the index.js file alone without any modifications. So now we are going to start creating our actual to-do list application. So what do you expect from a to-do list? We need to add some to-dos and delete them later. So first, I'll be creating a database. So for the database, we'll be using the Firebase project. So in order to use the Firebase project, you need to create an application. So I'll say React app. I will need hosting, but not now. Register app. So for now, we won't be using the database. We will be using actually something else called the use context API. Because, why to start off with overwhelming things and you can just do it more simple. So starting off, we'll be creating the to-do list in our app.jsx file. So let's say I will create some a folder in SRC named components, and then I'll create to-do list.jsx. So this is our to-do list component. So as for every JSX file, we will import the React and then function to-do list. Next we'll return div. Yep, expected. So this is a test code for now. So let's go to app.jsx and say to-do list with a self-closing tag. My to-do list: take out the trash, walk the dog, make the bed and do the dishes. So we'll be leaving the app.jsx for some time and actually create a CSS file, css/to-do list.css. So there we go. And then we'll be importing the CSS from our app. Import .css/to-do list.css. Oh, my bad. Dot slash, because it's in the previous folder. And yep, it's fine. Now a few manipulations are needed. So first we'll give this class name to do list app, or else to do list container, and then dot to do list container, and let's say with 100% max with 600 pixels, margin 0 and auto, padding 20 pixels, box shadow, and a border radius. So yep, it looks a pretty decent one. Now looks like this one needs a little bit more shading, right? So I'll say 0.3 here in the RGBA. Yep. So this to-do list looks marvelous. Now margin top. So I'll increase the margin top to 1 rem, or else a bit more like 5. Yep. Now in the UL, I'll give this UL a class name of to-do list, or else just simply the list. So dot list style none, padding 0. Now we'll select all the list items in the list, and we'll say display flex, justify content space between align items, center padding 10 pixels 0, and the other stuff. This one is looking better. Now next step, we'll actually increase some font size here. So let's say font size 1.2 rem approximately. Yep, that should do the task. Now in front of all the list items, I'll actually keep an input type checkbox. Okay, so this won't be working if I'm not wrong. Yep. So we'll select the dot list. In that list item, we'll select the input tag, and then margin right 10 pixels. Next step, we'll make its position relative maybe, and then top will push it maybe like for some 10 pixels. It became too much, so well, let's try 4. Nah, 2 maybe. Yep, that's looking good. So next step, we'll be changing the name to, okay, for now let's create our context. So context slash list.jsx, import React. So for the next step, we'll create a list context and then export default list context. Okay, but in the meanwhile, I'll say function list provider return list context dot provider value none for now, props dot children. So let's say const list and set list react.juiceState officially none for now. We will say function update list new list, and then set list to the new list. So we will give the values an object which contains list as well as the update list function. So let's pass in the props right here, and that's basically it for our list provider. Now next step, we'll export list provider as well as list context. Now we'll be going to app.jsx and we'll say list provider and move this to the list inside that one. And that's basically set up for our list provider. Now the next step, we will be going to to-do list and say const value set list, const list and set list, or else update list, right? So we've named it update list equal to react.use context list context. So we'll be importing list context right there, just like that. Now so we'll be saying react.useEffect, and this one will run whenever the list updates. So in the dependencies, we'll be passing the list, and then we will be logging the list right there. Okay, now let's refresh our app and open console, and it says array 0 from to-do list JSX9 from here. So that's it for now. We've created our list. Now whenever the app loads, react.useEffect, so whenever the page loads for the first time, so that's why I'm keeping my dependency array empty. We'll be updating the list, and the new list will be passing walk the dog, make the bed, and do the dishes. So initially the list is empty, but later the list has been added right there. Now we will be going here and we'll say in the components we'll add list item component, and we'll say import react, and then we'll be creating the to do list item component and exporting it. So return. So this is what I've thought of for now. So I will be passing the props right here, and then take out the trash. We'll be replacing this with props dot task maybe. Then we'll set this to input checkbox as well as the name to props dot maybe what can we say. So back here we'll be saying list dot map. Yep, exactly what I needed. Return like this, right? So in the name we can pass props dot name, but else props.number to be precise. So here we'll be replacing this one with list item, just like that. And I've got 3 right there. I'll be removing these 3 which have been typed manually, and I'm getting these 3 from the list which I've made. Now I can check this off. So one more step is we will be setting the input and the name to props.number, right? So if I'm not wrong, this should be 0, but I don't want 0. So I'll be saying +1, but I want something else. So I'll say task, but first I'll be executing this. So that should give me task 1, task 2, and so on. Right, just like that. Now I want to make an effect in which when I click this, the checkbox also gets checked. So if you've not known how to do that, this is a good start for you. So what we can do is use the label tag, a typo right there, and /lib. Now in the label we can pass the to label of, if I'm not wrong. Okay, so I forgot how to use the label tag. Let's search it up on Google, why to use. So W3 schools. Okay, so label for. So we have to replace it with HTML for, because you know, for actually means something else in JavaScript, because though it is looking like HTML, this is still JavaScript, right? So yep. So now task plus props dot number +1. So now the label for and label name. So when I click this, oops, it's not working. So if I'm not wrong, the ID should be like this. So let's change it to the ID. Yep. Now when I click this, it also checks the checkbox just like this. If you can't see, I'll be zooming it out. Okay. So I want the name also to be same like this. I'll be copying this and set the name like this. So if I'm not wrong, the name and ID will be same. Yep, exactly what I wanted. So next step, whenever this is selected, we'll strike this off. So CSS text strike through. So line through. So let's say const checked set checked. Now function, we'll be creating a function named handle change. And whenever the input value changes, we'll say on change equal to handle change. But for more clear visibility, I'll be making them to single line properties. Yep, like this. Now I'll be saying in the handle change function, I'll be taking the event. Now I'll be setting the check to event.target.check. Now for the label, we'll be placing a style attribute. Let me align this also a bit like that. One more, and yep. So style will say text decoration checked line through or else none. So that should do the trick. Whenever I check it, it goes to a strike through, which indicates that we've done the task. Now I'll be saying user select and set it to none, so that even if I double click it, won't be selecting the text, and which gives me a more usability. Now I want this all to be manipulated through the DOM. So to-do list, now you will not understand why we've set the context right now, which we will be using it in the later part of the video when we connect Firebase to our front end. Now the list item tag is done. So we'll be going to the to-do list again and say and input right there. Put type text, something like this, and then I'll be going to the CSS file dot list, in which it has an input whose type is equal to text. So it gave me the styles automatically, and let's refresh. Nah, it didn't work. So let me check why is this happening. Oh, it's dot to do list container. Got it. So that right there. Now I'll say outline none, as you can see right here, and then border none. Okay, 1 pixel solid, so I don't need a border radius. Now I'll set border top none, border left none, and border right none. Or else I can just change it to border bottom and just remove this all. Okay, so it's not working as I expected. So that right there. Now we'll be copying this line. I will be pasting it here. I will say is to focus. So whenever the input has been focused, we'll say border bottom change. See, it gives the effect of actually clicking, right? So that's what I wanted. Now one more style is text align center. Makes it better. Yep. And then probably a bit of padding reduce. So padding 10 pixels is too much. So top and bottom I need like 3 pixels, and left and right I want like 15 pixels. Yep, that makes it look more like a to-do list. Now we'll be saying the date or dot add section. And the button of add. So display flex. Yep. And then I'll change the button styles. So right there, padding top and bottom 0, left and right 5 pixels. Now 6. So let's modify it from here. So we'll be increasing it as much as we want. So 8 pixels looks good. Yep. So our button is done, and we'll add a little bit of transitions, 0.2 seconds. And for our text, transition 0.5 seconds. Yep, that looks good. Okay. So now we will be adding some function. So let's say first of all, we'll add a placeholder here. We'll be saying in the placeholder, let's say add your task. Here. And that's just like that. Now I want to increase the border width for the input. So my bottom, I'll be changing that to 5 pixels. Make it look more like a border. 5 pixels is too much. Yep, 3 pixels look fine. Yes. So I've got what I wished. So now let's check the responsiveness. It's quite some responsive. Now the button, we'll set the width to 10%. Okay, so something like 5%. Yep. So now if I check for the responsiveness, okay, a bit okay now. Yep. Now we'll be adding the add tasks function here. So now in the components we'll be adding the add section.jsx. As usual, import React and create the add section first and export it. We'll remove this and type add section. Now if we check and refresh, it's fine. Now we'll be adding some tasks. So let's go back to our to-do list, and in the props we will be adding the update list function. So we'll be passing the update list function just like this, and then we'll add the props here, and then on click handle click function. So function handle click event like that. Now for that we need the text in here, right? So we'll be saying we'll be using another use state hook. So const task and set task presently empty, and then function handle change, and then we'll be taking the event argument as usual. Now for here we'll say value equal to task on change equal to handle change. Now in here set task event.target.value, and then the handle click we can add you know we'll say, or else in the to-do list we can even take the current list right now, and then we'll say const temp equal to everything in that list. We will be creating a temporary variable, and then temp dot push and the task, and then I guess that should be it. List is not defined. Okay, so in here we should be writing props.list, my bad. Now we'll say test and click on the add button. Doesn't do anything. Let's check the errors. Okay, now we have to do props dot update list, and then we'll be passing in the temporary for array, and that should do the job. Yep, and then we'll be clearing this text field also. So then we'll say set task empty. So when we refresh the 3 regular tasks which we've added, and then our test in here, we'll add it right there, and it gets cleared automatically. So infinity, we have infinity here. So we can create as many tasks as we wish to. Now what next? We have to delete the tasks, right? So what are we going to do for that? Whenever the where is this one? The list context, then to do list.jsx. Whenever this the list item. So yep, this is the file. So whenever we have clicked the checkbox and checked it, we will be adding up a delete button right here, which would be fun, right? Now we'll be going back to to-do list, the list item. In here we'll be adding the update list equal to update list, and then list equal to list. Now in here we will be adding a ternary condition checked, then we'll be adding a button right there, and or else empty. So in the button we'll be using a UTF code like ampersand times, Let's see. Yep, just like that. Now, whenever the user clicks this button, we will delete this. So, how about style, position, absolute, and then right, we'll say 0. It went too far. Right equal to 10%. More than that, 50. 25. And finally 30. That should be it. Now we'll be setting the width to obviously 10%. Oh, it's too much. How about 2%? It's too small now. And 3. Yep. This is exactly what I want. So whenever we check out the task, we'll add a X mark button which we can use to delete the item from the list. So what are we going to do next? Up next, we will be using the array functions like slice, etc. Now function delete item. So it gave me a function by default. Let's check it right now. So in here in the button, we'll say on click handle delete item. So whenever I press the X mark, it deletes it. Yep, it works just absolutely fine. So I can remove anywhere in the middle. Okay, so there seems to be a glitch, right? Let's see. Task number 2 is checked. So test 1, test 2, and test 3. So make the bed, check out. I'll be keeping it like here. Okay. So the next step, what we are going to do is solve the bug. So after we remove it, we'll say window dot location dot reload. So whenever we remove, it refreshes, but unfortunately we are adding this by default. So we'll be solving the bug later. We need database for that. So in the next part, we will be using the Firebase and adding the database to the app. So let's continue in the next part.